In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Thanks for waiting. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show. The live stream, the podcast, and of course the Portugal Club, which I'm gonna rebrand for January 2026 as the Sexy 60 Plus Club here in Portugal. Stay tuned for further details. And the picture you can see behind me. It's not that I overslept this morning. Far from it. I was up walking Jimmy the dog early this morning, and that was a beautiful dawn picture. The sun rising. It wasn't that long ago, to be fair, but perhaps a little bit too dark behind me. But that was the dawn this morning, hot off the press or fresh from my phone, which took a while to load up WhatsApp this morning, and hence my late arrival. A mixed bag of reasons, actually, why I was late to the screen. But thank you for waiting. Really appreciate it. Good morning to you, Gemini. T-Duck, good morning to you. Your comments are now on the screen. Jackie, good to see you. Bon dia, GuMPers, and Happy New Year. It is, of course, the 31st of December this morning, and the great Garvo joins me to have a look at how we might decide how 2026 is going to be. Is it me, or is there a rather fatalistic atmosphere about 2026? And with social media, YouTube, there's so many people telling us, and I include myself in that, so many people talking about it, telling us how it's going to be. We can, of course, have some sovereignty and agency and decide how we want it to be for ourselves. And that's the sort of conversation I'm hoping to have with you and with Garvo when he joins us at around 8:30 this morning. The last show of 2025. In fact, I better send him the link. So he knows where to join us. There we go. Just sending it to him now. We've got a Portuguese citizenship test question. Of course, it'll be coming back to food, and there's another little foodie item I'd like to share with you on this easygoing morning from Frank up in the north of Portugal. Now, Frank has definitely found his spiritual home in Portugal. Porto is Frank's yard now for sure. And we were, those of us in the Wine Ninjas Club were sent a fantastic picture of a new sandwich that he's found up there. Oh, he also sent the meme to us. I've never made friends drinking milk. That's probably true, isn't it? Except at school. I think I made, this may sound like a peculiarly British thing. In British schools, when I were a lad, between working in the soot factory and then sitting on park benches in my youth, I went to school, and we used to get given a bottle of milk in mid-morning. I didn't like it at all. Something in my genes, I think, identified me as lactose intolerant long before that was a thing. I hated the smell. And actually, when I became a school caretaker many years later, that smell came back to me because I was inflicting the same thing on the kids some years later. But I would give my free milk away. And I'm sure it was some sort of early corporate thing done between the Milk Marketing Board and the government of the day. Yes, let's make the children strong on animal milks. And give them a bottle. It was a little third bottle, and you used to get a paper straw with it. And if you didn't get on with it and drink it, the paper straw would collapse, and that stinky milk would then also you'd have a milk-soaked paper straw. I made friends drinking milk because I would give my milk away. I didn't want to drink it myself. I found an early way to win friends and influence people with my free morning milk. Right, Kate's also here. Kate, we're supposed to be having a thread, are we not, of your Bygrave bonuses? I think we're still getting them separately over on the Portugal Club. Not a big deal. I just was hoping we might see your we might a cracker this morning. Let's see if people can understand what this means. But yeah, it'd be great if we could get them all on one post with each new meme as a subsequent comment. And then feel free to use your Good Morning Portugal approved Bygrave bonus official sticker that's over there. But thank you very much for what you've posted this morning. Yeah, don't forget to sing. Let's have a look. Let's share this, Kate, with everybody. You've gone to the trouble of selling sharing this morning, singing, sharing, selling. What is that? What is that on the screen? I'm going to leave that on there for just a moment so you can figure that out. Very good, Kate, this morning. And thank you for becoming our friend towards the end of 2025. I'm glad it's over because I can't even say it. 2026, that's a little bit easier to say, isn't it? Yeah, thanks for becoming our buddy this year and for all the lovely service over at the Portugal Club. Cold quacks this morning. Got my thermals on, going for a long walk in about an hour. Where's the best place to buy thermals, or did you grab them in the States, T-Duck? Bon dia, GuMPers. Yes, and morning, Mike. As soon as I'm done trolling Carl. Yes, I think that's done this morning, isn't it? Same here, boyo. Ropes on the boat frozen like sticks of wood. Yikes. Gonna get shopping done early, then hunker down close to kettle and fire. Wow. Yeah, and when you're talking about me before the show started, I can hear you, you know. Bon dia, GuMPers. The old guy's here. Feliz carta e vespera de Ano Novo. Yes, Happy New Year. Happy New Year's Eve. And happy, what day is it today? We're on the 37th of January. It's Wednesday, isn't it, today? So it'll be the first Thursday of the month tomorrow, and of the year, of course. The 1st of January will be a Thursday, then a couple of days. It's kind of one of those bridging holidays, isn't it? I imagine a lot of Portuguese people would have taken the 2nd off to make that a nice, long, lovely weekend before we get back into things in earnest on the 5th, and then back to normal service for most people from next Monday, the 5th of January. Yeah, Garvo joining me soon. We better get a move on. And nice to see you, though, James, this morning. Anyone figured out what that is on the screen there yet? It's super foggy in the capital. I can't even see the building across the street. Wow. Yeah, I was turning things off and on again. I'm also watching the Lisbon Airport live stream, totally socked in. What does that mean? With fog? And have you noticed? Bobby O'Reilly sent me a message to say that the new system that is it the EES? Is that what it's called at Lisbon Airport? Has been scrapped for the time being, or suspended for 3 months until they figure it out. I think it was getting. I don't think disgusting is too strong a word to use with how people have been treated at Lisbon Airport. Not all of them. It depends what flight you come in on and how congested it can be. I mean, I know people who've come in and just walk straight through, no problems at all, and that can still happen and always does. But then when it has been bad, it's been really bad, and people have been waiting 5, 6. I think I even heard of 7 hours. So much so that the husband of a celebrity wrote to the Prime Minister, I think, and said how awful it was and something needed to be done. And hey, presto, the power of husbands of celebrities, the system that clocks in the non-EU nationals, I think that's it, isn't it? The EES system, the ring of security. It's such a good ring of security. It sends out a message that this is not an easy designation to get into the Schengen ring. Who doesn't like a Schengen ring first thing in the morning? That ring of secure steel. I mean, just walk across the border in Spain, and then at the airport you're waiting for 5 or 6 hours. Typical sort of thing, isn't it? Where a few bad eggs and a few bad policy decisions mean that good, honest people get made to wait and inconvenience massively. All started with that airport security stuff, didn't it? But yeah, they've shelved it, put it to one side, suspended it for 3 months now. I honestly don't know if that's going to make it any easier at the airport, but I think they're bringing GNR staff back and going back to the old system, reverting to the contingency, which is the old system that you'll be familiar with from long ago, probably when you first came to Portugal, and that rectal scan, whatever it is, that the system that was put into place that seems to be causing all the troubles has been suspended for 3 months, as I understand it. Check it out on the news sources. Bom dia, meus amigos, from the coach. Feliz carta. Someone told me it was New Year's Eve. Eventually it's got here, isn't it? But that must be fake news. How can this year be finished so soon? Is it me? Mrs. M and I were talking about this. This year has just whizzed by. It's been a weird one. We realized we hadn't been to the forest barbecue area. We hadn't been to the beach very much. It's just whizzed by. Is that the same for everyone here? Have you figured out what that is on the screen yet? Bon dia y buon novo. Thank you, Mel. should we do a show in the morning? I think we probably will. Might even start on time. That I don't want to set myself up with a resolution of starting on time, but it would. I mean, it would be a better look, wouldn't it? It'd be a bit more professional if I turned up on time or near time. The last few days have been pretty shoddy. I'll be honest. I can't lie. Bon dia from the Porky Feet, Andero, a frosty start. You're still over there in Blighty. When you fly back in, it's going to be a bit easier. Although you'll be in Porto, won't you? I suspect, not Lisbon. Morning, Gary. Good to see you. Bon dia. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you very much. And Matty, bon dia, alegria a todos e feliz última quarta-feira de 2025. Yes, the last Wednesday of 2025. Morning sky, beautiful this morning, says Mel, with 8 planes traveling just off the horizon. Are they spraying it? Same section of sky in the same direction and 3 in diverse directions. Interesting, right? Oh, yes. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore, is it? Or is it still in that? We can ask Garvo. Garvo's really always challenged me when I suspected that the weather is being manipulated by aeroplanes. And even I think I was quite late to that party. But have you got a picture of the lovely patterns in the sky, Mel? And thank you for maybe getting us shadow banned on YouTube or whatever happens, Facebook. Porto, the home of the Frankie Sheena. Ah, yes. I need to show you Frank's new love up there in Porto. What's this called? It's a different kind of sandwich. And very nice it looks too, if you like that sort of thing. However, what with the download difficulties on WhatsApp, I'm not sure if I did appropriately download. Let me just try one more time. But it's a Northern Portugal sandwich, and it's a game changer, says, I've already saved this. I'll try it again. The Northern Portugal sandwich is a game changer. Chunks of marinated pork, usually from the leg or the shoulder, fried until golden, stuffed into crusty Portuguese bread, often soaked with pork juices, a bit of the rojão sauce, sometimes mustard or piri-piri. Think bifanas, wilder northern cousin, less polite and more pork. Northern Portugal, Minho region. This comes from. I'm trying to add a video clip. That's why. Oh dear. What do we think? Do we think this show is going to improve in 2026, or is it going to get even more shoddy? That's not a Bifana. That's Paul Richards. He may get called, oh, my lovely little Bifana by Susan. But no, there it is. I mean, that is a big fella, that Sani there, isn't it? Move over, Francisina, and the Bifana for that matter. What you see before you is, did we actually find out what it's called? I'm not even sure if I know what it's called, but it's a game changer anyway. Traditionally eaten at village fairs, tashkinas, after pig slaughter feasts, which doesn't sound especially appetizing, doesn't it? But that looks good. Oh, it's called the Rojão Nopal. The Rojão. I'll put it into the chat for you. Should you ever be up in the north of Portugal, around where Frank is now living and loving his best life, and he found that joint there called Sol e Sombra Bifanas, SOLESOMBRA, Sol e Sombra Bifanas in Porto. I do have the link if you want to pop along there yourself and try out one of those bad boys, vegetarians and vegans notwithstanding. But it's huge, isn't it? That's quite the chunk there, and also sandwich too, Frank. Bon dia, Sarah. How you doing? It's not the Francisina, no. It is the Rojão Nopal on bread there. You're all right, Matty, but I wanted to include Frank's name in there. Oh, I see. Yeah, I got my thermals in the States. Yeah, it's actually a heat suit. I got my thermals in Decathlon, says Matty. Nice and cheap and working well. Okay, fair enough. So if you do need thermals, or if you're hanging on in there until the weather improves, I think we've still got a few more cold mornings, have we not, where you'll see me bedecked in a scarf like this. I'll keep asking Jerry at Expats Portugal to come up with some branded merch. Might have to do it myself if he doesn't do it soon. But thermals, aren't they an amazing... I mean, are they one of the inventions? What I was going to ask him, what I want to talk to Gary about, is how when we were kids and we thought of 2026, we probably had Jetson-style images in our minds, did we not? You know, what did 2020... I mean, somebody might want to do an AI search on what kids thought 2026 might look like in the 60s and 70s, even the 50s. And, was it that we were going to be having and celebrating thermals, or were we going to be having flying cars by now? I'll talk to Gary about this. And also, yeah, what were your expectations as a kid? And what did you think you might be doing by 2026? Because it probably isn't quite like you imagined. Is any of it like you might have imagined? And also, something else that occurred to me is that I was born 20 years after the end of World War II. And actually, remember when I was a kid, I used to think to myself, that looked like black and white ancient history. And it was only 20 years before I was born, which, my dad was a teenager during the Second World War. And his life was affected by it. He was not, what's the word? I can never remember this word. When the kids were moved away to safer areas, not transmuted or transcended. Somebody will tell me in the comments what it was called when kids were moved away from the cities and towns of UK to safer places. But yeah, I was born only 20 years after. I mean, if I think of 20 years ago from now, we're only looking at 2005, which was just a couple of years before I first came to Portugal. It doesn't feel like that long ago. So presumably to the adults of 1965, the idea of 1945 must have been fairly fresh in their minds, as 2005 is us to us now. Or is it very different? Has something happened to time that has just where everything's speeding up? Does that make any sense? Anyway, let me know what you imagine 2026 might look like when you were a kid. And do you have that same strange relativity about time? Because, some of you were born even closer to the Second World War. And did you think of it as ancient history when you were a kid, when in fact it was just a few years earlier? The tradition of eating 12 raisins, known as passas in Portuguese, at midnight on New Year's Eve is one of the most beloved and widespread customs in Portugal. Thank you very much. As the clock strikes midnight on December the 31st, people quickly eat one raisin with each of the 12 chimes, whilst paramedics are standing by in case of choking incidents. No, that isn't what is written here. I added that. Making a wish for each one. 12 wishes. Wow. Typically for good health, prosperity, love, or happiness, and 8 more. You can deep dive into your wishes when you've got 12, can't you? Each raisin symbolizes 1 month of the coming year, and the ritual believed to bring good luck and ensure a prosperous 12 months ahead. That's lovely. Thanks, T-Duck, for that. Many wash the raisins down with a sip of espumante to make swallowing easier and faster. It's a race against the clock, and it's common for people to choke, miscount, or laugh through. Oh, how we laughed as Grandma was choking on her 7th raisin. She's fine now, though. It is still better than the massive queues at Eurostar and the tunnel in the UK. Chaos there, right? Not just Chris Rea, of course, that isn't coming home for New Year. So, yes, I guess in both directions, there are people trying to get back from the continent, as it were. You see, 2026, flying cars, no. Trains stuck in tunnels because of electrical failures. We weren't expecting that, were we? When I came through Lisboa a couple of weeks ago, I walked straight through the electronic gates and had my passport stamped while there were massive queues for everyone else. A Brexit benefit, maybe. I think it's more complicated than that. It won't have helped, but it's a bit more complicated than that, I suspect. I love an occasional Franceschina. Yeah, you can't eat one of them every day, can you? Morning, Kate. Last week when we came back, we were out of the airport in 5 minutes. That's what I mean. I'm not saying it's like that for everyone all the time, but certainly for some people, I've seen some horrific complaints of 5, 6, and 7 hour waits. And when you're waiting to get into the country, it's not like you can pop to the cafe, is it, or sit down. There's nowhere to sit there, is there? You're just standing up or sitting on the floor. And that's pretty disgraceful, I would say. It's no way to treat human beings. For some of them, as their first experience of Portugal, come on, we can do better than that. Maybe that's one of the things we can hope for in 2026. Although I suspect Garvo's got some bigger fish to fry than airport queues when we talked to him this morning. Pete, it looked like even Schengen citizens were held up. Even Schengen citizens, my goodness. Well, next to thermals, the trick is using layers, absolutely. When working in my cold room, I was up to 5 layers of clothing. If you ever need any of us to come and thaw you out with a blowtorch, Matty, it sounds like you're getting close to that in central Portugal. Let us know. Adrian said, good morning to you, Adrian. Quarta-feira. O dia de 18 de dezembro, no calendário eclesiástico e civil no Monte Athos, na Grécia, Oh, what are you doing to me here, Adrian? What's this? No resto do mondo, vespera do anno novo civil secular. Okay, I'm not entirely sure, but maybe Adrian has a different date, the 18th, for his New Year's Eve, strictly speaking. Have you figured out what the picture is behind yet? I'll be asking you, Garvo, when you arrive. You usually get released straight to baggage. Sounds like going to a therapy session. Never had any issues at Lisbon, but Waterloo and Folkestone look like the usual Christmas misery. As a child, I didn't give a fig for becoming an adult, says Jackie. In my 50s, I'm still waiting to grow up. Kids all watch Tomorrow's World in the UK. Much has proven to be false. Yes. 1985, equidistant between 1945 and now. Weird. Yeah, absolutely. My dad and his brother evacuated, that's the word, to Aintree near Liverpool. They had a great time, apparently. Yeah, some kids did, didn't they, of course? Vietnam and South Korea were very Tomorrow's World, whereas Japan is about 1984 in our experience this year. Grasa! Dona Grasa! La bon dia to you. Lots of love to you. Happy New Year to you and your family. Olá, bon dia, Grasa. Tudo bem? Oh, muito amor to you. Lovely to see you here. Have a fabulous 2026. Feliz Ano Novo, bom Ano Novo to you. What happens if you need to go to the loo while in an 8-hour queue if traveling alone? Exactly. You find out who your friends are. I'm fine now. Moved to the workplace from the cold room to my bedroom. Yeah, it took a while, it would seem, for that to sink in. That's a bad sound that you may have heard there. I might have to let Garvo talk to you on his own. I haven't got my laptop plugged in. So as soon as he comes on, he's going to have to chat to you on his own for a bit. There are loos in that area, Mel. There's even a doggy loo. Well, if needs must. A few years ago, I decided I was fed up with flying, so I always travel by land now. We'd love to hear about how you make those journeys. Mel, if you let it loose, you can clear a queue pretty quickly. See, the amazing mind of Peter. And that, of course, on your screen is the Old Lang Syne. Get it? Very good. Nice one, Kate. Let's bring him onto the screen. The great Garvo, everybody. Hola, bon dia.
I'm hoping my microphone's working because it's playing up.
You sound as clear as a bell. Garvo, would you like to introduce yourself while I go and get my power supply?
Yeah, you go. I know that sound because I've had that happen myself right in the middle of a live broadcast, and it's rather embarrassing, isn't it? So, well, yes, head off to find your power stick.
2 days ago, I did the show without plugging in the Wi-Fi. I've got to get a hardwired computer. It's ridiculous doing it on the laptop and then taking the laptop and doing something else. So many variables. That's the problem. Before I go, and if this does plunge into darkness, I'll be back soon. But what I was saying, Garvo, is when we were kids, we had our ideas about what 2026 would be like. And they may not correspond to what is actually happening. And also, I was born in 1965. That was only 20 years after the Second World War. However, as a kid, when I looked at pictures of the Second World War, I thought that was ancient history. However, if you think of 20 years ago from now, that was only 2005, which seems quite similar to now, doesn't it? It doesn't seem like, footage we see of ancient times.
I had exactly the same thought a couple of weeks back. Yeah. Looked at the dates and thought, blimey, that was, so-and-so years ago. And the Second World War and how different that was to when you were in the 80s and stuff. You thought, well, it's almost like a different century.
Yes.
But I suppose because we've lived through this next phase and we've got used to the changes as we go along, it's not quite so dramatic. When we look back at the Second World War, we wouldn't have known that. We wouldn't know anything about that. So it seems completely alien to us. So, yeah, I understand that sentiment.
Bit weird. Whilst I'm gone, why don't you tell everybody about your show on a Wednesday evening, which I suspect is returning for 2026, and invite people to join you on that. I'll be right back.
Okay, you get in there, right? Oh, open space. Hey, I like this. For those that don't know me, I'm Garvo, better known on wider community, but Gary is my proper name. We were doing a show last year, which was called the Wednesday Interconnect, which is basically a get-together for anybody who wants to sort of tell us about where they live or what they do, or local businesses, that sort of stuff, local restaurants, attractions, and it was going pretty well because part of my mission last year was to try to get people to get out and about and try a bit of Portugal and make new friends. And that largely seemed to work quite well. But last year was a bit of a difficult one for me. Things don't always go to plan. So I had to kind of disconnect from that for a while. Hopefully we can bring it back. And I'm going to try and remodel the show to put a format where you can either appear on screen, or whether you can just want to just have a chat through sound only, because some people don't almost like to be on camera. That sort of kind of phone-in feeling. But if you want to share a view, or if you want to tell me about something, that's fine. I'm very, very, very happy to do that. And here he is, the man himself, the master, who I can only stand in his shadow and marvel at because he does it every day. And I know what it's like just once a week.
Yeah, eventually. Thank you. I wonder what I was doing off camera there, but anyway, better out than in. And I do it every morning, and will continue for 2026. But I will do my best to be on time as well, not only but also
do the Portuguese run.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, I was using that excuse for a little while. Calma, tranquila. It'll start eventually, but I think it's a bit unfair to make people wait, especially when they've turned up, especially around 8 o'clock. So I will do better on that. Thank you for the invite, says Pete. Have an awesome new year. We'll give you a call. Gary's show is ace, by the way. So there's a nice little testimonial for you there, mate. Right, I'm out of breath. I'm up in the attic now, and I've just run up those stairs. I've just run up those stairs, which are a little bit of going on. I'm okay. No, I'm not dizzy as well. Not that old, right? Just a little bit out of breath. Now, when was it on the show yesterday morning? I think you popped in to talk about I think, as I understood it anyway. Tell me if I'm correct on this. Is that you were hoping to foster a little bit more understanding between people and heal some of this polarity and division, which is a strange thing, isn't it? Because whilst we keep talking about how much polarity and division there is, we find more, don't we? And we see more. So, but at the same time, I think it is true. There are agendas and narratives to divide people, and there always have been. And they seem quite intense at the moment. Don't know if you look at YouTube. I don't know if it's just my algorithm and feed. It's like World War III. It's happening this afternoon. That's how febrile and sensational it's all becoming. And that is going on, and I guess if you give it attention, it feels like it's happening, and you kind of make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. But also, so much beauty, as ever, is going on as well, and we don't seem to be focusing so much on that, do we? Is that the sort of gist of what the cut of your jib for 2026?
Well, they see. I've just while you're off there, I was just talking to the ladies and gentlemen about last year's mission, and that was to get people out and about. Do a bit of Portugal, meet new friends. Try life. And get out there, which I think largely was successful through one method or another. So this year's goal is just to be a bit more mellow, a bit more understanding. Not trigger so much, and just try and enjoy life, find the balance. Because last year was a wicked year for me. It really was. It was a really difficult year, one way or another, with my son and my own health, this and the other. But
yes, of course. Yeah.
This year, my mission is, before people fire off that volley, the internet is so full of people now. We're almost like coiled springs waiting to make a comment on something. Get that blood going. But how does that really make you feel? Are you getting real? Yeah. I mean, you cannot really get pleasure from that, I wouldn't have thought. And that is where I'm coming from this year. Before you start, launching into those sort of behaviours, and we're all being wound up to do it. I think, with media, like you say, and news and whatever you read or whoever you talk to, there's always a drama. There's always something nasty going on. Very little nice things. And I use this as my framed inspiration. The Bondi Beach shootings, right? Awful thing to happen. Yeah. But look, from this, there is always something you can grab as a positive. And I saw him on television the other day, and the guy who grabbed the gun, I don't think he was Jewish with the name that he had.
He was a Muslim. Yeah, he was a Muslim. Yeah.
So even right, he risked his life. He definitely risked his life to save Jewish people. Now, if he can do that, right, he can put the whole lot on the line. It's only a small little thing for us to try and get on together, and just take a step back and say, let's figure this out.
You choose a very interesting example there, because in the moment of in his major humanitarian moment and response, he wasn't a label, was he? He was a human being coming to the aid of other human beings. He wasn't checking ideologies or what do you call yourself, or what do you eat, don't you eat, when do you go to the temple, etc., etc. And that's part of the problem, isn't it? That's not to say people shouldn't do what they want to do in terms of their beliefs and worship, but when we label ourselves, we're beginning to cause the problem, aren't we, of differentiation and all that stuff that goes on in the mind. This to me, this is part of the problem, is that we are so much in our minds, and once we are in our minds, that's the kind of last vestige. You have to kind of fight your way out, don't you? Once you're stuck in your mind, you have to fight your way out.
It's like being in the corner of a boxing ring, isn't it? It's like,
right, and you're fighting your way out with other people who are also stuck in their minds. And it would appear there's not many elegant ways out of the mind except through the heart, perhaps, which is exactly what that fella did, right? It was just a heartfelt animal urge, wasn't it? And a great human. I would like to think it was a great human effort as well. It was a great act of compassion, perhaps the greatest act of compassion, to risk your life for other people. So it is possible, isn't it? And it transcends all these labels that we're killing each other with, literally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so appalled by, when you switch on that television, radio, whatever, the constant battery of negative things that make you feel anxious and make you feel sad, and very little to encourage you to actually get around this problem and get together and start talking about stuff. And the thing is, we're all different. We all have our own eccentricities or our own beliefs, but that's the wonderful thing of life. All that diversity, all that color, all that difference, all that thought. Nothing was ever created from conventional thought, really, was it? Nothing new was ever created from conventional thought. When we get together and we discuss ideas, we understand each other a bit more. We can make allowances. It's possible. And you don't always have to be right. You don't always have to prove that you're right. You don't. No, you don't.
You're not talking personally to me, though. You're like, one doesn't have to be right.
No, just you don't have to fight it to the death until one of you is lying on the floor, slain and disemboweled.
It's just a flesh wound.
Okay, I understand that.
It's just an ideological flesh wound, right? Yeah, absolutely. And you also make a great point about difference as well. We are inescapably obviously different as well, and it's about getting the measure right, isn't it, of perhaps celebrating what's different rather than making a point of combat and conflict. And this is what I was trying to say yesterday, and I think this is where you kind of popped in and chimed in with this idea of United Nations of Portugal. We could have the best of both worlds, couldn't we? We could be celebrating our differences in this amazing 190 plus countries, cultures of people who live in Portugal, sharing the best of all of that with this incredible backdrop and context of the Portuguese way of life, which I suspect, I know you love it. We are lucky to be here. We're grateful to be here. And the way the Portuguese go about, I think what we're talking about, generally speaking, is a thing of beauty and an instruction manual as well, isn't it? It's almost like a subtle mentoring. When you see Portuguese people disagreeing with each other, but are still able to sit at the same table, they're not going to live in other towns because they can't get on with each other or excluding each other from. And I imagine it happens, but generally speaking, and I was talking to a Portuguese guy yesterday about this very thing, that you can have very strong and different opinions with each other as Portuguese people, but still love each other and have the humanitarian connection. It doesn't void or cancel your humanity because you have a different opinion, which is something that's going on in other parts of the world, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you take it, for example, I've heard countless stories of Americans falling out with each other because one's Democrat and one's Republican. Bear in mind something before you do this. That person might have a completely different set of values to you. He might have a different, lifestyle. His investments or whatever might be tailored to what he votes. You might have something completely different. So he will vote that and you will vote this, right? Doesn't mean to say that you cannot converse together. You can't be in the same room. How many people will not even be in the same room as the opposite number? And that is, how can I say, immature. I'm sorry to say that, but it is immature, right? Because we're all adult people. We learn about the world around us. And if we sit there and do this, right, what are we going to learn? We're just going to be ignorant for most of the time. And even if you really do not like that person, you'll have learned something about them just by talking to them and being in the same room.
We are in also, I would say, the age of yes and rather than yes but. Okay, and I do want to find out what your tactics are going to be, what your sort of practical suggestions are about this. And something I would like to say about that is we have also moved into an age where people have understood boundaries more and will not be in rooms or spaces of other people who affect their quality of life. And again, that's like an irony or a contradiction, isn't it? Is yes, I completely agree with you that would it really be that difficult to give somebody a respectful audience and your company, if only for a few minutes or hours? And at the same time, if that person is righteously indignant in the way that you've talked about, you might not want to bother, right? And people, a lot of people have come to that conclusion, haven't they, recently? Is like, life is short and precious. I'm not going to waste my time with people who are just not reciprocating in that way. So how do you create I guess that's the question then. How do you create a reciprocal environment of that? Because if you enter a situation where that isn't the understood way of being and connecting, you're going to just lay yourself open for abuse. And you and I, in the positions we've put ourselves in, have experienced that, haven't we? I've tried to do that online, to be open, and I've faced from time to time some very personal and I'm not complaining, by the way. I'm just observing that this is what happens. That if you do that, other people don't always reciprocate, do they?
No. I mean, it's a difficult thing to handle sometimes, because when you come under attack, your first impulse is to either go on the attack back or some sort of defense, right?
Yes.
But there is a way out. There is a middle ground.
Yes.
And you can turn around and take a step back and say, look, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with it, right?
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but you have a right to your own opinion. Now, how can you argue with that? Somebody will try and do it, but you can't really come back from that. I'm sorry, I don't agree with you, but I hear what you're saying, and you have the right to your own opinion, and as long as we do that, that's fine.
Yeah. So it's like to a point, isn't it? And finding balance as ever. And I think this is what T-Duck, I think, is talking about here. He's owning up to being immature. I'd always suspected when I hear someone expressing extremism, I will live. And that's the kind of boundary, the clean boundary thing, isn't it? Is respecting yourself at a point where you're thinking, okay, I'm not, like if someone's becoming physically abusive or angry and aggressive, it would make sense to leave that situation, wouldn't it? Not just to keep offering the other cheek.
Well, physical is a whole different thing, because if you're under attack from somebody, then nature will make you defend yourself. So
Yes.
There's no real way out of that, is there? Or they either fight back or defend. So physical, but we're evolved human beings, and we've got minds. Let's use them. Let's have a bit more thought about it. Because and I've seen you do it with the same as me. Somebody makes a comment, and it might be dear to your heart and your fundamental belief, and that you can almost see it go through the body. It's like,
ouch,
and you've got to kick back. There's no way that you won't be able to respond to that. Well, you can right, just before you kick back, just take two or 3 seconds and think, how am I feeling now?
Rub your thighs.
Yeah, rub your thighs. Have a quick check. How am I feeling? Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to get into this melee?
Yes.
Sometimes I think, no. Okay.
And humor also another. We'll have seen each other in this situation where we thought it's not worth it. Let's have a laugh instead. But that's another beautiful observation, Gary. The trigger, the Velcro moment. Where you just feel obliged to defend a position. And that's another little bit of maybe that's another breakthrough for humanity. You know, we've learned about boundaries, taking care of ourselves, what we will and will expose ourselves to, how we might indulge is the wrong word, but how we might go a little bit further, be a little bit more compassionate. These are the things that you're talking about. But also another element to this, I think, that's dawning, that I think is really powerful and helpful, and I'd like to think I'm going through myself, is when you get the trigger, well, let's call it that, the thing you just described, where something dear to you, it feels like it's just been trodden on or kicked in the balls or whatever. It's like, oh, sharp intake of breath. And if you can see yourself being triggered, you can take it to another level, can't you? So I get it. You know, the one point is to say, okay, I've got healthy, strong boundaries. I don't put up with this. I'm going. And also a judgment call in that moment might be, oh, actually, how this person is being is a kind of mirror or a projection here. And I'm putting something onto, I mean, they are an arsehole maybe, but I'm also putting something on them. I'm seeing myself uncomfortably in the mirror here. What might that teach me? And that's another thing we might take on board or employ for 2026, but going forward for the human project.
Let's look what the final result might be, right? If you do engage, it's going to get nasty, and you're going to get worked up.
You, sir, are a cannon bounder.
Absolutely. You're going to get wound up, and you're going to get all this negative energy going on and anger. And it does, you know, in a world where we're bombarded with negativeness, do you really want any more, you know, piled up on you?
Well said.
You know, let's just take a step back, take that moment just to think, do I really want to get involved in this? Well, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Absolutely. But that therapeutic angle, are you with that? You know, like, what am I seeing about myself I'm seeing a massive a-hole in front of me. It can be a mirror, can't it? You can like, when am I being like that? When am I being like that is a question you might ask yourself.
Well, if you sometimes read back maybe a conversation you've been having with somebody on Facebook or text or whatever, which you've disagreed about something, right? And you read it after, you know, maybe a couple of days after, you think, oh, that was a bit, you know, I didn't really mean it that way. But you were hurt and you were angry and you just wanted to hurt back.
Yeah.
So step out of that one. And the other thing is, right, if somebody comes with something new and far out and, you know, an idea, and some people will call it bizarre or whatever, right? But people who have these ideas, right, that you know, these ways of thinking or whatever, tend to be attacked quite quickly. And I think it's a human, how can I say, programming, that sometimes when somebody or something comes into your life you don't quite understand, you have to go through a series of tests to find out what it's about.
Yes.
You know, can I eat it? Yeah. Can I have sex with it? Can I you know, make something useful from it? And, you know, is it worth it? And to do this, normally people will go through all these little strange little tests, but it always ends up with that, you know, how can I say that? Testing.
What's it for me? Yes.
Yeah, a bit of a prod. See what happens then, and a bit more. But they tend to do it together. It's kind of contagious. You can see one person starts and somebody else joins, and you get a pack of people. Yeah. And you get the person being, you know, almost run out of town for having the wrong sort of idea for that particular crowd.
Yes.
That's kind of sad, really, isn't it? It is really.
What's sad exactly?
Well, just the fact that somebody comes in with a new idea or a new way of thinking, right? Nobody wants to listen. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going down that street. I don't want to even think about it. Yeah. Well, and then run you out of town.
That's another good example, though, isn't it? Of, I think if you ever have a strong feeling or reaction, there's a gift in it for you if you want it. You know, I think that would appear to be the case, and also you can create lifetime boundaries. T-Duck, at my age, I simply can't be bothered. So that's it. He's done. He's done with fools. And on the matter of fools, are you my therapist? I recognise those sofas, Parola Grand. And finally, I'm not sure. Sometimes I just see a name. I don't know who you are. I've seen you on YouTube, and this is a really good example of what you're talking about. Parola Grand put a comment on my YouTube about something, and I was a bit agitated, and I was thinking, I went through my whole chain of events of like, do I just do a piss off comment? Do I ban? Again, I've got like a checklist. Do I try and write something funny? Parola Grant, I owe you a comment about when you were laughing that Ben wasn't listening to me on a live stream, and I took that a bit personally and was a bit hurt by that. And I'm still trying to work on a comical comeback for that, but it escapes me. But I'm glad you're here this morning, and you make a very good point here. Arguing with a fool proves there are two of you. There's some truth in that, isn't there?
See, look, even in that statement there is a label. You've labelled somebody a fool.
Yes.
Straight away, they are a fool.
Well,
you've made it personal now. He's just got a different opinion from you. He just sees the world different, or she sees the world differently from you. Doesn't mean they're a fool because they don't agree with each other. It's just a different way of seeing it.
Yes. And in the spirit of yes and rather than yeah but, Gary, we might depersonalize, mightn't we? Say, that the behavior is foolish, as in it doesn't get a very good result, or it's not something I would do. And that is also, I think, quite a useful way of perhaps seeing things for the new year, is playing the ball, not the man, as it were. Because that's been a big problem, isn't it, in the last few years, how it becomes personalized. And I think, again, the Portuguese are very good at this. They're looking at someone's behavior and opinions. They're not necessarily rolling it up into, well, you're a fool, rather than what you said sounds to me foolish. And I think some people can make that distinction more easily than others.
I'm going to give you an example, right? I'll take this to the extreme. I remember I went on a trip to America, and out in the Mojave Desert. We're crossing the nothingness, basically. And there's a little encampment, and the guy was taking us. I think we're going to see the Grand Canyon. There was like those silver caravans, I've forgotten what Airstreams.
Airstreams, not jet streams.
A group of those out there in the middle of the desert. And I said to Bill, I think his name, I said, what's that? He said, that's the free thinkers. I said, and I had to ask. He said, he said, they I don't know where they're still there. It's a few years ago now. He said, yeah, it's just a group of people who, get together. But it's, lots of ideas, this, that, and and apparently there was a guy that had been living there for several years, and he while he was there, he walked backwards. He just walked backwards, and nobody ever questioned it or asked him why he walked backwards. And some people might just think that's totally bizarre and foolish, whatever, right? But nobody ever questioned him. He was happy enough. Did he ever hurt anybody? He may have walked into a few people occasionally, but that was about it. And they were quite happy to let him do it. He was happy doing it, and nobody asked him why. Yes. How fantastic is that? How wonderful is that you can actually just let go that much and say, yeah, okay, kid, you do what you got. You're happy.
Well, who knows? You may have inspired others this morning to start walking backwards into the new year.
It's difficult. It is difficult.
It's not as easy as it looks.
Get some exercise from it.
Right. This is interesting. And this is perhaps what we're talking about as well, isn't it? There are many positions that are not based on fact or knowledge. We like these sort of comments, don't we, Gary? I think. But bigotry and prejudice. Now, I think there's been a labeling going on there, right? It would appear that Parola Grande knows what is a fact and has a very keen sense of who is and isn't a bigot and who is or isn't prejudiced.
You've taken a position, isn't it, Shane? You've taken a position already. You've built that part.
But they're right, are they not? So if you are right, are you not entitled to take a position?
If you think you're right, that's good enough for you.
I'm playing with you.
And both. this is going to go back to our long running. You know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Don't say it. Don't you dare.
Arguments.
Don't you dare.
Probably only one of the few things we never really agree on, but you believe it's good enough for you.
Yeah, no, I see that we have a different point of view on it, rather that we have a disagreement on it, and I love the fact that we're both laughing about it. It's a matter of fondness for us both, isn't it? That we know that if the conversation ever goes a bit quiet, I will just say, Gary, you do know there's absolute truth, don't you? And off we go. Right.
You do realise when we both have passed this mortal shell, and I'm standing there, and I'll turn around and go, I told you.
And I will look back at you and say, Gary, we are now in the absolute truth that I was speaking of. and then we'll be
I'm not
reborn.
doing the same. I'm sorry, I don't believe you.
then we'll be reborn as a punishment.
But the basis
don't
of what we
say
have
that.
there, the basis of
Right.
what we have there is important.
We've got some. Sorry, say that again.
The basis of what we do there, what we've talked about there, we're allowing each other our own positions, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that as one of the many great facets of our friendship. Right, we've got some good comments here. I don't follow the news, and I've greatly reduced my Facebook engagement to simply following friends and sharing my own stuff. This has led to a significant improvement of the quality of my life. However, when I share my own stuff, it doesn't always work out like that. But I get your point, which was already great. The quality of life was already great, but it's been improved there. I don't watch the news either, says Kate. But you can, even if you don't watch it, you can pretty much guess what's going on over there in the news, interestingly. I contend that all conflict is ego conflict, and I'm prepared to fight about it. Right, no, he doesn't say that. Right, wrong, better, worse, smarter, dumber. I don't. I know you don't. And on and on and on and on. Morning, Chris. And if you want to understand what triggering is, Chris is a great example. All you have to say is Brexit, and he's off.
When me and Chris have had some fine disagreements over Brexit.
Yes,
but I had a man cave one night. We had a most wonderful conversation together, and I respect Chris's beliefs, and I see what he's on about. But we can still exist in the same zone together and have a reasonably, great conversation. It's possible.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree with both of you. Problem is, government media has told us those opinion differences are life-threatening, and it's unsafe to be in the room with someone threatening. Yeah, it's a cheap trick, isn't it? Good morning, Denise. Good morning to you. Good morning, bon dia. Happy New Year to you and your family. Igualmente to you, Denise. Lovely to see you this morning. My wish for 2026 is for the community of humans. I hope we will find the respect again for each other and their opinions, instead of insisting that one's point of view is the only one available. And also perhaps to put opinions into they're like farts, aren't they? I mean, why are we taking it all so seriously anyway? It really doesn't matter that much, does it? Just like a blurt of what somebody thinks or says. I mean, perhaps we could do that, get that into perspective as well.
I mean, it's great, love it.
You don't have to like everybody, and everybody doesn't have to like you, and we don't need to try to please everybody. That's also a very freeing phenomenon for the people pleasers. I think we are living in a time where the ideas of the therapy couch are coming more into common circulation and understanding. No one talked about gaslighting in the 60s, did they? I mean, if they did, it was like because it was a technology and not.
Well, it was probably a job then, wasn't it? Really,
a job, and not a state of mind or something you did to people. Are having this greater understanding of how the mind works, and perhaps what we're doing to each other and ourselves through greater psychological understanding, hopefully. Smile and nod and change the subject is one option. My mum used to say, when you know you are right, there is no need to argue about it. That sounds quite a mummish comment, doesn't it there? Arguing, okay, we've done that one. Thank you very much, Parola Grand. I'm certainly guilty of being triggered sometimes. Who isn't? Come on. I mean, that's a very honest. Of course, you're a human being, aren't you? But have seen so many things differently to most for decades. So think 99.9% of the time, I have to let it slide or never mix with people. Has that changed a little bit, though, Mel? Are you finding all these conspiracy theories which are coming true are the road rising to meet your feet, perhaps? Ego screams at us to argue, defend, or run away. I think there's some truth in that as well. Yeah, I think we need to move away from labels. And as with all things, there is a use for them. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. I guess it's getting the use in the right place, isn't it? Labels are quite useful if you're in I don't know, if in a bookshop. That's the only time it's good to judge a book by its cover. Otherwise, you can end up with something you didn't want, perhaps.
Or you could miss a surprise.
You could. Yeah. I mean, I suppose the bottom line here is not to be too attached to anything. As soon as we find ourselves getting attached to things, wanting to be right, thinking we're right, and the attachment thing starts to fire up, that's when there's a bit of a problem. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we can reject anything completely. There's a reason for it, but it's understanding what that reason is that will free us, perhaps. It is a matter of having a sense of humor and admitting when you are wrong about Brexit. I come across as stupid, and I see it fast when someone thinks it, and then I'm in a perfect position to get the better end of any. Oh, I see. You're using it there. So many facts and stereotypes of 50 years ago now proven untrue. So I love being open to listening to differing perspectives. Yeah, absolutely. I've stopped following mainstream news 2 decades ago, so no idea what that shooting was Garbo mentioned earlier. But I think you will agree with me, Matty. Even if you don't watch the news, you'll know exactly what they're talking about in more intensity and greater negativity. No surprises there. Mainstream media is no longer mainstream. It's government-controlled propaganda. Matty, the news isn't worth watching. It's the same nonsense every day, just different characters. I realised that 2 decades ago, says Matty, and better that people think you're a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Says Pearly Grand. Labels are incredibly useful, but on jars, stereotypes still need to set up my type of stereo, starting to miss the clear and loud audio. Thank you for lightening the mood with a bit of humour there, Matty. Not that our mood needed lightening. It's been fantastic talking to you this morning, Garvo. I need to do the Portugal Club citizenship test question with you, but just before we go, and how much fun is this this morning? What are your tactics then for doing this? I mean, you'll be fostering and sharing this atmosphere, this way of being on your Wednesday show. Last year was the year of getting out and about in Portugal. This year is the year of being more connected and compassionate, perhaps, with people. How are you going about that? What's that going to look like?
Well, just let me say it's something I wanted to say. It's been rattling around my mind now, right? Remember the bad cold days of COVID when we were all locked up and we started to pine for each other. We needed to get out there and be social, and we missed that. And I know you and I had hopes for a completely different world once this ended. But I don't think I've ever seen a world that is more divided, more hostile, more racial, more religiously divided on every level, right? And I don't like that, right? That's been grown, that's been promoted. And although I can't end the war in Ukraine, or I can't solve the troubles in Gaza, I can do it on a small scale around me to those people that I know and I deal with, right? So that's my mission. And if we all do that little thing each, each and every one of us, that could amount to be a whole different story, couldn't it, really? So my mission is just, give it some time and just stand away from it and don't get involved in hostility. Just give respect to people, whether you think they're an idiot or not, right? Just give them room. Just give them room.
But I would say you're doing that already, aren't you? I mean, as long as I've known you, I can't remember the last time you started a war or went and nick someone's stuff.
I've started a few hostile conversations in my time.
Yeah, that's just the man shed. That's just I'm not the men's shed. The man cave. The man.
It's been so long you've been in there, you forgot the name, haven't you?
Yeah, it is. It's true. It's true. And actually, that was one of the things I was hoping to say today as well. We are getting older, and we are the elders, and we're the ones we've been waiting for. I think it's. I do. Me. I've been chiding the man cave, and when I see comments on Facebook about the problem with this and that, I think we have to do something about it as well. And you are. I mean, you're talking about how you're being, which I think is the beginning of what we're doing. Is how we're being in life. But I don't get that you are a warmonger, and most people aren't. This is the thing, isn't it? Most people are just going about their lives in a peaceful, compassionate, kind way. And long may that continue, and that kind of behavior be prized and admired and rewarded, rather than this constant focus on the wrongdoers. And it's almost like it's mythological and fairy tale stuff, isn't it? To have it going on over there as a kind of archetypal conflict. This is what we've been brought up with all our lives, isn't it? Bogeymen and conflicts that are reported to us that we've got no first-hand knowledge of. But actually, our first-hand knowledge of life is very good and beautiful if it's not completely overshadowed by all that cobblers.
Yeah, but the media in its entirety, and there's so much of it now. It's not just television; it's social media and newspapers, everything. Yeah. Is a constant drive to being hostile and divisive.
Well, yes, agreed. An interesting note to end on, and perhaps we'll speak in a year's time to see how we've got on with this project.
All right, Mr. Angry.
Yeah. No, I don't want to be on your stupid show. Right. Portuguese citizenship test question 85. What is the name of the traditional Portuguese pork and clam stew, Garvo? Is it carne de porco alentejana? I'm going to vote for that. Is it the cozida portuguesa or is it the caldeirada? Which are you going to go for?
Happens to be my favourite, the Alentejo, pork
Does
Alentejo.
it really? Okay, so an easy one for you there. You're choosing the porco alentejano. Very good, Garbo. Thank you for that. Thank you, everyone. I think we probably will do a show tomorrow just to welcome in the new year. And I wish you and yours, everyone at Casa Austin, all the very best, mate, for 2026.
To you and yours, exactly the same, and everybody else watching. Have a lovely
year. All right. Well, have a great day. Enjoy your New Year's Eve, whatever you're doing tonight, and hopefully it will include the safely eaten 12 raisins. Remember to make 12 wishes, and that they be beautiful ones, and a celebration that all we've been talking about. That life is good and beautiful, and lots of love and peace to everyone for the new year. And we'll see you in that new year tomorrow morning. Cheers, Garvo. Take care, mate. All the best. Bye for now.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need